This is a project to learn what it's like to be a lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer or questioning young person today. LGBTQ youth are more likely to be isolated, discriminated against and bullied. They're more likely to feel that they don't fit in, and they're more likely to experience mental health problems, like depression and self-harm. But how do we deal with these experiences? That's what this project wants to find out. You can take part in different ways. You can answer questions online, keep a diary or blog for a month, take part in the 1-month online project to show what everyday life is like for you. Or we can chat with instant messaging, a call or video. To take part, visit the website or email info@gsoy.org.uk.
As Unitarian Universalists, we can be proud of our denomination's long history of embracing sexuality in all its forms. But despite our denomination's sex-positive posture, many of us, myself included, struggle with the paradox of sex and spirituality. We ask ourselves questions like, when is sex holy? Or, is it wrong to have this urge I'm having? Or, how will I find my heart's true desire? I think at heart, these are theological questions. This past January, I was taking classes at Meadville Lombard Theological School in Chicago, where I'm a second-year student. I invited some Unitarian Universalist seminarians to talk to me about their theology of sexuality. 4 brave souls stepped forward, and here's some of what they had to say.
So I grew up in the UU Church, and I feel so lucky to have done so because I grew up with an idea that my body, that sexuality, that physical interaction with others was not only an accepted but a celebrated and integrated part of who I was as a spiritual person.
Interesting topic. I don't think of myself as having a theology of sexuality. I do feel that I have an implicit set of assumptions that could be formed into a theology if someone wanted to help me do that.
In the bigger picture, my most deeply held Unitarian Universalist value is that first principle of the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And that really, for me, just feeds into, in terms of sexuality, the idea that I can ask for what I need, I can say no to what's not right for me. Those things can change, and I own that.
Well, right off the bat, I think about the binaries that we get caught up in, like male and female, and gay and straight, and top and bottom. And I think about how I just don't believe that God deals in binaries. I don't think God makes binaries.
It wasn't just about sex. It was about covenant and how we build relationships with the people who matter to us.
So, being a Unitarian, I feel like part of the responsibility of being Unitarian is because that there's a responsibility to not only fight the homophobia that I might have grown up with, but also to determine for myself what is my gender preference in sexuality and the like.
But it also translates into how I view other people, and whether it's gender roles or sexuality. I have a real passion for transgender rights, and I play in a band with someone on the transgender spectrum, and we sing and rock out about those issues. And so it's a lively, spiritual, musical experience for me that I tie back to my Unitarian Universalist beliefs and values.
I think God makes spectrums, but they're not even really spectrums. It's really a circle. God makes a cycle or an entire palette, but we people decide that certain things are opposites, and then that pass that down to us.
And affirmed who we are as people with the right to choose who we love, how we love them, how we physically interact with each other. Everything from handshakes to hugs to kissing.
I will say that I feel that sexuality and sex is it's part of the joy of life.
I mean, I think about, in terms of sexuality and religion, what I hope for my children. I have a son who's 3 and a daughter who's 5, and I hope that both of them sense a spirituality to their being, to their body, and that they don't separate the body from the spirit. That's something that is really important to me, and something that I express through dance and music and worship.
And I used to believe in that until one day I heard somebody. I had always believed that the opposite of love was hate, but one day somebody said to me, "No, the opposite of love is indifference, because in both hate and love you have an investment, but in indifference you have no." And then I realized, so these opposites are actually arbitrary.
So when we build our interactions together, when we build covenant together, it's not just about our thoughts or our words, it's about every piece of who we are, and that includes our physical selves. For me, sexuality and teaching about sexuality is an integral part of how we form a church community that is truly a beloved community.
Just making sure if you have kids, that they understand, they learn well and safely and without shame. I have 2 daughters. The idea that either of them would experience shame for either orientation or for responsible pleasure is really abhorrent. So
You get into this good and bad arbitrary thinking, and then you start to believe that there's a list of right and wrong things that is hard and fast from the beginning of time, and that gets you into the kind of thinking where you think there's things you're not supposed to do. But I know in my heart that God does not have a list of acceptable sex practices.
I love how the ideas you just heard show some of the great diversity of thought with our denomination, but also have a common thread, this underlying value of compassion for each other and for ourselves. I pray that you can find a theology of sexuality that allows you to bring your whole self to your relationship, and better yet, brings you some good loving. Amen, and blessed be.